Welcome to the Halfbetty podcast, a vibrant, inclusive community of women sharing stories of midlife. We aim to shift the narrative from focusing on decline to celebrating this chapter as the beginning of the best scene yet. We'll be in conversation with women in their midlives to join us for comfortable, open conversations with questions and curiosities to spark their stories about their midlife journey. What we know these conversations will deliver are truths, sparks of insight, curiosity to learn more, self-reflection, hope, laughter, and connection. Halfbetty moments. I am so excited to introduce today someone very, very special. Our guest today has worked in theater, film, and TV. She's in the fitness industry and the educational system. She's a performer, a teacher, a coach, a mentor, a mama, a wife, a daughter, and a friend of mine for, I think, almost 25 years. Rhonda said she didn't really realize she was paving the road for other young people. And now she humbly accepts that this was her purpose. It was not to be celebrated as an artist, but to allow herself to be a change maker and a guide.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here.
We love it.
I'm very happy to be here. And I love that this is about women in their midlife because it gives me hope. Because I'm thinking if I'm 54, then maybe that means that I've got to like 100 and something, right?
Right?
So it's just a great place to put myself instead of, got only about 20, maybe 20, 25. We'll see. Hopefully this show will inspire women who are crossing into that mid time to really dig in and sink in. I've heard expressions like this is our second point in our lives where we can do something and pivot. Mm-hmm. It's about the pivot.
That's right. I love it. You've just said so many of the things that are so well received by women at this point in time. And that really is at the core of what Halfbetty is about. What we recognized with Halfbetty is that there has been, for a very long time, a bit of a narrative around women as they get older, that period of time between, 35, 60, somewhere in that space, that women are now declining. Now they're not as fast, not as strong, not as capable. That's been part of that story for so long.
Yeah.
And I think what we recognize collectively is that that is all perhaps not true. In fact, it's a very different story, but we haven't had a place where all of those stories are coming to life and getting shared. When we harness all of our stories together and all of the wicked power that we've got together, wicked not in the bad way, but in the amazing way, when we put that all together, we're unstoppable. So we need that place to put it all together and to feel those little shivers when somebody says something that we relate to so deeply. And now we know we're building this community that's going to be a change maker community. I love that you're a change maker. Maybe can start there with you.
How women were perceived 50 years ago. So my 50 is definitely not my mom's 50, though my mom's 50 was pretty dang good. When she was 50, she was a young 50. And I think one of the things we can't ignore is that your body does decay. I always tell my clients when we're working, it's like what you do from the time that you were young right up into your 40s is you are working to make sure that all of the beautiful things that your body has, that you can maintain it. And when you get into your late 40s, 50s, 60s, it's all maintenance. There's no building. Like you see all these people selling these things online saying, if you take this and all of a sudden you're going to be ripped. You see these pictures of these ripped older women and you're like, no, they were ripped before. That's not going to be exactly your journey, which is fine.
Right.
But that I think there has to be some acknowledgement that yes, our bodies are going to definitely go through some changes. And I think what we need to start doing is presenting those changes in a way that are positive so that we don't start to feel like we're falling apart because this is happening, this is happening, this is happening.
All those things that people have been telling us for years, right?
For sure. Looking at my own chin on here and going, what's happening? I feel like those little small changes, they are happening so rapidly. and then they start to even out.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like in your 50s, you're going to find there's a lot of changes that are happening physically. And then those things that you have done already to help your body be well, that will all start to kick in and even out. I hear 60 is a great time. So, for instance, Krista, you're a dancer, I'm a dancer. So, all of those sort of arthritic issues that are going to come up from all the crazy things that we've done with our bodies in the past, that starts to kick in. And then once that kicks in, you're like, okay, I know I'm dealing with you. I'm dealing with you and I'm dealing with you. There are no surprises now. And you do those things that help. So that is what I try to talk to my clients about, because a lot of my clients started out being in our 30s and 40s, but now they're in their 40s and 50s. So we have to look at different things that help you feel good about you.
When you put it that way, maintaining is so good.
It's like when you have a beautiful vintage car, those beautiful cars that you go to see at those
car shows.
and the car shows, exactly. And then you're like, look at how beautiful that looks. Well, that's because somebody has put the oil in it. They've made sure that the paint has been done. They're filling air in the tires. They're maybe running it a little bit so that it doesn't lose steam. And that's why I look at a body. It's like you've got to fuel it with the right foods. You've got to exercise. You got to take it out a little bit and make sure that things still can move and shake so that things don't get stiff and stuck. All of that is really important. And it really is. This is what you're doing in your later years. And when people get injured and have really bad incidences that happen when they're working with a trainer or something, what was the trainer asking you to do? And then how much responsibility do you have to make sure that you know what your body is capable of and that you actually say, you know what? I don't think I want to throw that tire. Can we just do a chest press or something? I don't really need to throw it. It's just making sure like some of the trends, understanding some of the trends are not going to be what you need for your body. They're valuable for other people, but maybe that's not what you need. And it's about finding that thing that you want to do for a long period of time that's going to make you feel great when you're finished. You might be like mad at me while I'm working with you, and that's okay because some things we don't like to do. But you have to be able to find something that gives you joy when you do it. I love to move my body, and when I can't move my body, it puts me in a funk. And I realize so much of that has to do with who I am and what I need as a person.
And you always have been. That's been a huge part of your life.
Huge part of my life since I was very little, since I've watched my own father. He would come home from work, and that's where I got my inspiration from. He would come home from working long shifts, and we'd go downstairs after work. He'd do his 30 minutes. I would watch my mom do the 20-minute workout. But there was always this messaging that I had that it's important to take care of your facility because no one else is going to do it for you. Some people love yoga, but I always recommend that if you're doing yoga, you still need to do something that helps to strengthen your muscles, especially if you're a woman, because we lose our mass so much faster.
I could go down this path for the next number of hours and just get all of your insight. I'm going to jump into asking you, sharing with us 5 words that you feel really describe who Rhonda is.
So the first one that I'm striving to be, and I think that I am, is kind. As I become older, that is one thing that is important to me. I've actually seen the results of when somebody is quite aggressive or not so kind to you, when you turn to them with kindness, how that flips the script very quickly. And I've also seen the result of when hot Rhonda gets a little too hot and what the result of that is. And I like the kind version so much better. When I'm approaching somebody and I can see that they're having a really bad day, especially in customer service, I tend to be kind and just say, well, how's your day going? And immediately you see people soften and they appreciate that little olive branch of thanks for seeing me today. Kindness is one. Resilient would be another. I've gone through very many different things in my life as far as my journey to become a performer. Just living in Brantford, Ontario is one of the only like Black families. That took a lot of resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Having my daughter, I had multiple miscarriages. So Ocean is my one and only, but I'm so grateful that I let go and let God because she wouldn't be here if I didn't. That was a journey in itself. And for many women who don't talk about it because there's so much shame around, which for me, over the years, I've kind of thought if we had more conversations about this, then our medical profession might dive a little deeper than just go, well, here, we're going to give you this and this is going to help you. Maybe figuring out what's really going on in the body that stops a person from being able to have a child naturally. But I was very lucky that I kind of was like, you know what, if I'm not meant to have a baby, then I'll find other ways to embrace motherhood, whether it be through my teaching or, other people in my life. And then I found out a few weeks later I was already pregnant. So it was just kind of this weird universe intervention because that was one thing I've always wanted to be was a mom.
Oh, that gave me shivers.
I felt like the luckiest person in the world. And even when I now have my 16-year-old daughter, and even when things are feeling a little bit tricky, I pull myself back into those moments and I remind myself how difficult it was and how resilient she was to choose me to be the guide. And then that little soul fought to be here in this body that was struggling to maintain a pregnancy. So I always say, you're super strong when she feels at times where she's not. I'm like, you are, because
you know firsthand.
I know what your beginning was. I know your beginnings. So that would be two. The three, I say that I'm an advocate because I do stand up for things that I believe in. There have been times where the ability to talk about something that I believe in makes people feel a little bit away about it. So there might be somebody who might think that that's me being a diva or being aggressive. They're often told when they speak their mind that they're being aggressive. And I've had to flex that muscle at times where I didn't feel comfortable doing it, but it was necessary to do and has made lots of change for other people.
Childhood is priceless until someone puts a price on it. When sex trafficking and exploitation threaten childhood, we need to rally everyone and everything to protect it. That's why our friends at Ally Global Foundation are building community-led solutions in Canada to tackle root causes and educate communities. For free prevention resources for your children or school, or to support Ally in protecting childhood, visit ally.org. That's ALLY.org. Because every child deserves safety and freedom.
I'm going to try to tell this little story with, we'll just say, a musical that I was in. They had a lot of learning to do when it came to diversity and the differences in skin tone and hair texture and how to handle that. Recently, I've noted that they've had a lot of changes in how they do things now, 20 years later, which is beautiful to know, even how they write the contracts for the dancers, singers, and actors for that particular show. That's even changed as to what they could do to our personal appearance and that sort of thing. So to know that I had a little bit of a part in that, that is really important to me. Now, this story is a little bit hard to tell, but I'm going to try. When I was in elementary school, and for a lot of kids, you'll remember reading a book called Huckleberry Finn. This book was used all the time in our schools. It was general reading, but the language in the book for me was questionable because there was one particular N word in that book that was used quite frequently. And I was in grade 7. I remember it completely, sitting in the classroom, and every single time that word was used, the kids in the class would laugh. And I was sitting there feeling not shame. I don't even think it was shame, anger, because the first time I had heard that word was in grade 2, I think, and I didn't know what it meant. And I had to ask my parents what that word meant. And I remember the pained look on my dad's face when I asked him that he had to explain what it meant. And basically said, don't let anybody call you that word ever. And then I'm sitting in a classroom and having to hear that word during the English class because they would have to read the book aloud. So that was part of our English. So at the end of class one day, I just got up my courage and I said, I don't want to sit in this class anymore and listen to that book. I would rather, if you want me to read the book, that's fine. But can I take the book to the library? If you're going to read the book aloud, that's fine, but I don't want to do it. I was in grade 7 when I did. Now I think about that now and I think, wow, I had some kahunas. But, but my teacher said, you will do no such thing, and sent me to the office.
What?
And then they called my parents. Well, my dad came in and to the teacher and he said, how do you think my daughter feels sitting in a classroom listening to a word that is so derogatory and it does not make her feel like she belongs, like she is important, like she's a human being, and then you punish her for telling you how she felt. After that conversation, I was in the library reading the book, but I think that was the first time that I questioned authority in a way that made adults kind of step back and listen. I don't think it really changed what was happening in the classroom as far as what people read, but I do know that that book is not really a book that you would bring into a classroom anymore because it doesn't serve all the students that are in the classroom, unless you're going to actually talk about the history behind it.
Right. And use it as a tool.
That wasn't happening. So advocacy, I think, is really important. It has its place. And I'm not a yeller. I'm a talker. So I like to have conversation and I don't want to blame people or shame people. I just want to have conversation and then get people to understand and see where I'm coming from and how maybe they could see it from a different point of view. I think exactly. And the latest part about advocacy would be my work that I did with Healthy Dancer Canada. We formed the BIPOC Advocacy Working Group, which helped young dancers, emerging performers of color have an honorarium to help them produce some of the work because about 90% of the work that was being produced from young performers were not of any performers of color at all. So the point of doing that, and I don't want to say this in a way to say like, oh, we should try to equal things out that way because I don't think that's going to happen at all.
Yeah.
I think it was more or less a way to help bring attention to the things that are happening. And Healthy Dancer Canada has other scholarships that are available as well for young dancers and performers in general. But I think that this was just in response to what was happening, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things that were not happening in Ontario as far as the way that the councils were deciding what groups would get funding. So it was a great way to help encourage that a little bit. And then as an adjudicator, I speak a lot on stages about the importance of letting dancers come into a room as their full selves. And as something as small and silly as tights and shoes, those are small things that help a dancer feel like they can be in a room like themselves. And for so many years, I never did this because my dance teacher would just say, Rhonda, those tights look ridiculous. Go and get a couple pair of nylons, double them up, and wear those as your tights, right? That's what she would do. But I'm very surprised that so many teachers across this great country do not do that. They are dancers that are my complexion, are wearing beige tights and beige shoes. You're not fooling anybody. We can still see their face.
Yeah.
So if you want that dancer to not grow up believing that her body, her skin, her hair, or his body, his skin, his hair does not need to be on stage next to yours, then continue doing what you're doing. But if you believe that every child should have that same feeling, that same joy, that same
freedom,
confidence,
confidence.
it's confidence that they lack. And you can see it when they're forced to put on hair extensions or wear these tights and they're standing literally in their body, but not in their body. So I talk gently because so many people feel the shame of it and then they get very offended. I'm still a dance teacher. And when I create pieces for somebody or when I work with students who are Asian or white or black, I don't go, hey, everybody, I wore brown tights, so You're going to wear brown tights. So how many is that?
That's three.
That's three.
Kind.
So we have kind, we have resilient, we heard strong, and then we heard a lot about advocacy and being an advocate. So we've got three, maybe 3.5, kind of like a half Betty, but we've got a 3.5.
3.5. Sometimes I stay away from strong because I feel like in this package, sometimes when you hear strong, it means that I can just handle all kinds of things, and that's not true. I'm quite sensitive. I care about the value that I bring into a room, and I care whether or not you feel my value. If you don't feel my value, then that makes me feel like, what do I need to do to make you see where I'm coming from? So in that way, I care about what somebody might think. But as far as my strength, physically, I would like to say that I, at one point, was really strong. As I'm getting older, I am watching that strength decrease, which is scary, but natural. That's something that I have great pride in, is that I can feel the strength in my body and that I can look strong. And I can be strong-willed, but I'm not strong as far as you can do whatever you want to me and I'm not going to crumble. I think that sometimes people think that that's a measure of strength, and it's not. So
human after
that's
all.
exactly.
Yeah.
So whenever I say strength, and you always hear the Black woman so strong, and then it makes people also think differently about, well, how can we manipulate that strength, or how do we, does that mean I can just do this and that person won't feel that? So I wish I could come up with a different word for strong. Determined.
I like that.
Determined. So that would be that. And then sometimes I can be funny.
You're always funny.
Sometimes I can be funny.
We all need that.
And the root of funny is fun. So I love that there's that play of having fun, creating fun in the space that you're in, bringing the fun to a moment, to add levity to the appropriate times where humor and fun are so important to layer in. It's so interesting because I hear it and I see it in your body language and I see it in your smiles. And there's this lovely cadence as you're telling stories. And then you layer in this moment of levity as a listener. It just feels like this very beautiful, and maybe this is appropriate for you, very beautiful dance where you tell the story the way a dance is experienced, where there's moments of high intensity and then there's the more like gentle moves. And that's how it feels when you're telling your stories. It feels very much like a dance. And so the fun is in there as that part of the dance that I really appreciate. Can I take us to another place in the last number of years? And you did touch on this at one point a little bit, but was there a time that you felt that was like a moment, a bit of a catalyst of either being really aware of something around your midlife? Was there an event? Was there an experience? Was there a conversation? And I'll draw back to something that you said earlier when you had your 50th birthday. It was at the beginning of the pandemic. It was November 28th, 2020. You turned 50 and you had a really interesting perspective on what 50 meant to you and what 50 had meant to your mom and what that looked like. But what was it going to mean to you and what was it going to look like for you moving forward? Do you think maybe that birthday, that number, was something that gave you pause or something that made you think about things differently?
So something that's coming back very vividly, when I took my 50th picture, I used to have very long braids, and I had, for the longest time, I had braids in my hair. My daughter had never seen me without having braids in my hair, and I had covered my natural hair for my whole life. There was a point where I had a big fro. I think Krista knew me at that point. I had a big fro, and I was kind of rocking that and feeling great about myself. And I had left my hair like that. But when you have a baby, often what happens is the hormonal shifts in the body can cause your hair to drop out. So I was brushing my hair and it was just coming out. And I was like, I cannot watch this. So then I put braids in my hair. And then I lost that confidence in myself. This was like in my end of my 30s and going into my 40s. And I was just like, I'm just going to keep wearing the braids. And then the braids became this little thing that happened with me in Tab Fitness. It was my personal training studio. I was like the lady with the braids and the muscles. So then that became an identifying piece to who I was.
Hey friends, Krista here. Andrea and I are thrilled to offer an exclusive discount to our half-betty subscribers. We've fallen in love with our Chelsea boots from Bose & Co. They're soft, breathable, and handcrafted with 100% vegan, eco-friendly materials. As stylish as they are planet-friendly, this Canadian-founded brand proves you don't have to sacrifice style for sustainability. Featured in Vogue, Cosmo, Glamour, and Forbes, Bose & Co. is offering our half-betty subscribers 50% off. You're welcome. Find the link in our show notes.
When I turned 50, I was tired of that being the thing that was going to make people familiar with who I am. And I was starting to feel a little bit like an imposter. And I remember having this conversation with the friends of mine and talking about, I don't think I could ever take these braids out. I just feel like I'm going to be trapped in my in my extensions for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And my friend said, Rhonda, you have such a cute face. Why don't you just take them out? What's the big deal? And it was a big deal. And because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but for a lot of women, your hair becomes the thing that makes you feel a certain way. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for Black women, that's even, I feel like that intensifies because if you are trying to fit in and the idea of having that long, flowy kind of hair makes you feel more like you fit in, then that becomes your identity. And so I said at 50, man, I'm cutting this shit off. I'm cutting it out, right? I'm
Wow.
taking it out. And
Wow.
so that's the pandemic happened. And then all of the hair salons were closed. So I had to wait 2 years. And then I did that, took none of the
So
braids,
interesting.
cut my hair into this pixie cut, but I still wouldn't wear my hair as my natural curls. I was wearing it straight and not in its natural state. So that was a big thing for me, was saying like, world,
Yeah.
I am 50 years old and I feel like I'm still hiding behind something. I don't want to do that anymore. And it gave me permission, regardless of what anybody else was thinking, to go out and rock my curls in a way that I felt I should.
Yeah. Yeah.
The big thing that was really bothering me was I was talking to young people about being authentic and being yourself and rocking your curls and doing all of those things. And I was still not doing it. So I was like, nah, no more. It's time. It's time for me to be in my own skin and enjoying being in my own skin, regardless of what other people I thought were going to say. And honestly, the exact opposite happened. When I started to run my hair curly, they were like, oh my God, your curls are so beautiful. You've been hiding this the whole time. And I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
yeah,
Isn't
it's
that?
weird how you do that, right? Because you've
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
fixated on what you think people want you to be or how people, especially when you're in an
That's right.
industry where you're in the entertainment industry and you are constantly rolling with the trends and trying to fit into the
Yeah.
standards that's
Yeah.
created for you.
Being judged too, right? And being told without education, being told what to do, right? Like they know.
Yeah, being judged. And also you are setting
Yeah.
yourself up for possibly not getting hired for something, or
Right.
somebody making an
Right. Right.
assumption about the kind of person you are or where
Mm-hmm.
you come from or your education. All these things are all wrapped up
Yeah.
into that one thing. And I was like, okay, well, I just need to break away from that because I don't really
Mm.
want that for myself. And I don't want my
Mm-hmm.
daughter, who has beautiful curly hair,
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
to
Mm.
have
Mm-hmm.
that same sense about herself. And she was actually, I remember she must have been 12 going on
Yeah.
13, and she said, Mom, I've never actually seen your hair. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you've had
Mm.
braids this whole time. My braids were her soother. She would hold on to them and stroke them when she was trying to sleep.
Oh.
I was like, okay, she
Like a
doesn't need those
soother, like a
anymore. I said, Rhonda, it's
security
time to figure
blanket.
out what you are really standing for
Mm-hmm.
and being what you are saying you are, and
Mm.
not hiding behind something that you think people want to see. When I cut my hair, it was a whole emotional
Yeah. Yeah.
process. I was crying. I was feeling so vulnerable. I was so open,
Mm-hmm.
like people can really see me, which says a lot
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
where I was and what I was thinking, who I thought that I was being and who I wasn't really being. So, yes, I had all those things. I was still kind, I was still strong, I still was an advocate, I was still doing things, but there was still a part of me that was hiding behind that small little thing. And I'm not sure if any of your listeners will relate to how something so physical can alter how you essentially feel and uh, feel about yourself. And I felt like the minute that I did that, I felt beautiful. Uh, there are times that now, honey, well, I'm telling you, I don't feel beautiful. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate where you look at yourself and you go, what is going on with that?
Yeah.
But when I did,
I
like
don't know
a
what you're
little
talking
makeup,
about. I feel
exactly.
fabulous every
You
day.
feel beautiful every day. That's what I tell my, I feel fantastic every day. Garbage. We know we
Yeah.
don't feel
No,
fantastic every
no.
day, but that was one day when I took the weight of those extensions off. And then I'm not saying like, hey, to my sisters, go ahead. And to other women who want to wear extensions and rock it because it's gorgeous. You look amazing. But for me, I knew that there was something else behind that that I was clinging to that I need away from. The minute I did that, I felt that I could actually stand firmly in the things that I was saying to other people and back it up physically now.
You were
Simpatico.
aligned. Yeah.
Exactly.
It,
So mind, heart, spirit, physicality, it was all coming together. And I'm still growing um, into that. But I felt
mm-hmm.
better
Mm-hmm.
about my messaging and the messaging that I was putting out there to other people about who I am, what I stand
Mm-hmm.
for.
Mm-hmm.
To my daughter, even though right now she probably doesn't appreciate it, about what I'm
That'll
doing,
come.
what I'm
That'll come.
trying to do. Yeah, it'll come eventually, but what I'm trying to do and the woman that I want her to see, with all my flaws and my vulnerability and my questions. And I think it's important that people relate to real people. And so, on an educational standpoint, when I'm in a room with other teenagers, teaching a class or speaking about something that matters or choreographing at a performing arts school, whatever that is, they feel I'm real.
Mm.
They see my passion. I'm coming to them open.
Mm.
You're walking the walk.
Yeah, it's important to me. It's very important to me that I am in alignment with all of that. So that happened at 50.
That's really interesting. And that's a big shift. I loved when you described that at the time when you made this decision, you had this beautiful surprise that people saw you as beautiful for you and that it was not attached to the way that you were necessarily showing up physically, but that it was about who you are and how that then allowed you the freedom and the space to really be in alignment with yourself and to feel entirely with integrity, that you were showing up exactly as you were meant to show up in that moment, and have all of those people that meant so much to you to say, you're just as beautiful as you've always been, and nothing has changed, despite the fact that you've taken the step to change who you've been for so long physically. It's a beautiful moment to have that continued physical trait that we feel so attached to.
And I think because it sounds so frivolous when you think, ooh, she cut her hair. That was
No.
a, but for many people, it's a huge shift in how you want yourself to be viewed by other people. Appearance for many people can be manipulated in many ways. And as actors, you are constantly shifting and changing your appearance to accommodate whatever role you're playing.
Oh, yeah.
But literally, I was not working as an actor, but I was still playing a particular role. I needed to find myself. And that was one of the benefits I felt of the pandemic, was it made everyone pause and really stop and look at everything, not just who they were and how you are participating in society or community or in your family. But a lot of questions happened over that time. And for some people, they started doing something that would alter or change or shift that for themselves. But for other people, that moment in time really allowed themselves to shift their behavior or way of being, or change a habit, or for some people, they quit smoking or they stopped drinking. Lots of different things happened in that time.
Rhonda, you also went from closing your studio down and
Yeah.
doing all of your courses, your teaching, your classes online in your basement. Can you talk a little bit about that? And you had long-term clients that would come in, and that was something that they look forward to every week, coming in and seeing their friends, and then having that pivot, as everyone kind of refers to it. You got to pivot and work online. And so would you say that most of your clients are in their midlife?
Midlife to seniors.
I'd love to hear about that realization of leaving the studio and saying, nope, we got to move things. We got to pivot. We got to put them online, and how that care affected your clients in their midlife and what they needed and what you found was really helpful for them.
Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, they were having trouble imagining a shift to something new because it really hadn't been done. Some people were working in that space, and some people were experimenting a little bit in that virtual space, so doing personal training online, but it wasn't a big, huge thing at that point. I just remember having this conversation with my husband and saying, we need to figure this out for me, or else there's no income coming in at all. And I didn't want to have to owe anybody anything. So I thought, I don't want to lose these amazing people. They didn't want to lose me. So initially, I started by doing a Facebook Live. And that gave me an opportunity to reach people and still be kind of quirky and funny, still see you and give you some information and things that you need to help correct the positions of your body. I can still see you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were offering those as a free
It was free
service, as so many were at the time. I remember my husband and I and our boys took a couple of your classes. It was so amazing. Was that a very strategic thing for you?
So the Facebook Live was a great way to come into my space. They knew that my family was in the room. Ocean would be a person who was telling me who was appearing on screen, and she would write it on a whiteboard, and I would think, oh, Krista's here with her family. Fantastic. My husband was videotaping because at the time I didn't have a camera that would allow for you to see my whole body. So he was filming all around me so that people could see what I was doing.
It's amazing.
It was totally a family effort was being done here. And then through that, I started contacting my clients and seeing if they would like to continue to do their lessons online. And so I bought the equipment to make that happen. So when they started getting the feedback from me during the sessions and I was saying, your ribs are pushing forward too much, they were like, you can see that? Yes, I see everything. I see all and tell all. And that's when they realized that this was quite valuable. So I call them my lovely lifers. They all signed on right away and stayed with me. But
Wow.
I did lose clients because they couldn't see how that would happen or
Yeah.
how it could
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Then I got better over time giving instruction with words instead of with tactile
Mm,
touch, like without
right.
actually moving it myself.
Describing
So
things.
what
Right.
happened to them was now they became better at policing their own bodies. So even after everything went back to normal, I offered my services. I said, I can come to you, or we can just continue online. So I have a lot of clients that stayed online with me, and it was great. Yeah.
So cool.
It's interesting how you described being an instructor and an educator, and I love the use of that word educator in the context of this training and in the context of teaching, because you created an empowerment for the folks that were taking the classes, whereby you were almost handing them the tools, but through your teaching, for them to now advocate for themselves. They were empowered by your teaching to now do that themselves. I think that's a really interesting distinction
So beautiful.
between what former studios or the way that training used to work. It's a really interesting kind of evolution, isn't it?
Mm.
I think I really feel that for a lot of women, because most of my clients are women, I do have a couple of male clients, but most are women. And I think for them, they really felt like they needed me all the time.
Mm,
And
mm,
what ended up happening was I said, okay, so you see me on this day, and why not do this exercise? We can tape it, and then you can do it tomorrow, and you can maybe do it 2 days after that.
Mm.
So what I really loved was that they started to ask me for videos. And then what happened
mm.
was I started creating a class for other people. So if you couldn't really afford the personal training, then I offered a group class that we still have that same community where everybody can see each other online. And I teach the class and I talk to people the same way I would if you were in the room with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun. I think that people don't think you can still have that same energy in your own house with a
Mm-hmm.
screen. Like, yes, there's a difference. You feel people's energy more when you're in the space, but I really feel that having an appointment keeps you accountable.
Mm.
I'm really impressed with how my clients are still able to find the little things that I want them to find in their body. When it's not effective, they'll tell me. When it is really effective, they'll go, wow, I really felt that time. And I really think, like you're saying, the empowerment piece is knowing that you can do it also on your own. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I even pass them along apps and I say, yes, we're working together. This is not going to take away what we do, but it will only improve the result that you want to get if you do it more than the one time a week
Mm.
or the two
Yeah.
times a week that
Yeah.
you see me. I'm a big believer in doing something every day for 15, 20 minutes. That
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, 15, 20 minutes every day is so much better than 1 hour once a week. Because your
Mm.
Yeah.
body doesn't adjust to what's going on 1 hour a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
My clients and I, we are one. I
Mm-hmm.
am in your corner. I am working with you. You're family to me. You're not just a person that comes on my screen and I'm like, okay, let's do
Yeah.
5 push-ups. Let's do. It's like, no,
That's
I
your
know
your
about your.
little community.
It is like I know your family. I know what's happening in a relationship. You're not just a person that leads a person through exercise. You are a coach. You are
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
giving this person
Yeah.
encouragement, especially when they don't want to do it. And
Right.
I've worked with some of my clients who have gone through life-changing moments like a stroke, or I have a client right now who's currently in hospital. These are some of my senior clients fighting for their life.
Mm.
I have other clients that have autoimmune diseases. It's a part of
Yeah.
life, and I watch them go through all of these changes,
Mm.
including
Mm-hmm.
when their
Mm-hmm.
children go off to school and how the
Mm.
mental impact and the emotional impact of that affects how they move their bodies. And being in
Mm-hmm.
tune with those changes and knowing how to pivot the workout. Because
Mm.
sometimes They may have an intention to come in and let's do some weights, let's do some cardio. But then sometimes I can tell they don't need that right now. They need to do some gentle stretching. They need to go inward a little bit. They need to dive into core centering. They need to work on stabilization. Knowing the person and knowing what they need, I feel that's the best part of my job. And being able to encourage them even when I know it's not something that they want to do. That's the hardest part of my job.
That description and that story, and there was a couple of things there that I just really want to touch on. You talked about how you personalize to each of the people that you're working with because you recognize what they need. And you touched on a piece there about what's happening in their lives changes how their bodies are performing or feeling. And with women in their midlives who are experiencing so many things that are really big shifts, whether it be a physical shift or whether it be, and you touched on this, a mental shift. So when you referenced women whose children have now left home, that's a very real experience for me as I sit here being an empty nester. And it really struck me how I hadn't even really thought about how I know what it's been doing to my mental space because I've been feeling sad and I'm like, what am I now? Where are my children gone? The bedrooms are empty. And so I know how my mental space feels, but I haven't really, until you said that, thought about how it physically impacts how my body is reacting to it or what I'm holding now in my body physically because of that experience. And so that really, really landed. And I really appreciated you highlighting this is part of what you from your own personal experience, knowing your body so well and being even that more in tune with what is going on for you, you can extend that to people because they may not even know that that's what they need. And so that's amazing.
Such a special gift. Yeah.
I was going to say the gift really is that it's a two-way street. So those beautiful people that I get to work with, they also are there for me in the exact same way. Some of them, my senior clients, as I go through the teenage years with my daughter, or even when she was little, I could come to them and ask them, you know, did your child do this? Or, you know, we have that kind of bond where we're able to share. And I think that's the beauty of working with somebody one-on-one. I work on my own because I get to set my schedule. So I am able to have that time with my clients. They know that they could text me at any time. And they know that I will return that text or that phone call day or night, especially if there's something going on, if they're not well, or if they're having trouble with their child or a parent passes, because all of those things I have walked through with many of my clients. And I'm really grateful for that experience. The value of that is that I have all of these people that I add to my personal community. They are there for me. I couldn't believe how many people, when I said, I'm sorry, I was sick, can we drop something off for you? Can we come and bring you some juice?
This is more intimate and this is more bringing in that care that you talk about, that even the resilience, you know, staying by them, they're staying by you. All those things that you've shared, it is community, and community can be and happen in such different ways. And it sounds like you've really found that in them and they found that in you.
And just to circle back to when you were talking about your children leaving and how that imprinted you, it's really amazing how when the body feels stress and you've had an old injury, how immediately it trickles into that area of the body. And so I know this sounds like I'm doing a session, but one of the things that I would advise is breath work, not just sitting though, breath work because I know there's so many people just meditate, but I'm a mover, and I don't know if
You're a
I
mover?
have.
Like to
I know
move your
I'm still moving right now in the street, but I need to be able to breathe and move at the same time, because the stillness sometimes for people can also be stressful.
Yeah.
And that's what I
absolutely.
recognized with some of my clients. I worked with people where they've had a loss, or they're very worried about something, and in the middle of the session, they'll just start crying.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm like, nah, that is your body freeing up space and freeing up energy. And that's how energy is coming out of your body. And it's beautiful, actually. It means we've touched, we found something that needed to let go, and you're letting go. And I let them know that it's okay. That's why I'm here. And that's why we're in this space together. It's to give you that opportunity to just do that, and don't feel shame about it. It's one of those beautiful things when you're not allowing your body to release.
It'll
and
just do it.
A movement. Yeah, you do one little
Something
movement,
will happen.
and then all of a sudden it triggers the release in the body, and it's like waterworks. And they're like, what's happening?
And you're like, what just happened?
Right,
it is
like,
wild.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
And it's different for everybody. That's the interesting thing, is that it's also everybody's unique story and everybody's unique movement or everybody's unique trigger that creates that moment. It's really very individual.
Sometimes in my sessions, honestly, a client might just need to talk. And so in between the talk, I put them in a position that will allow them to stretch or get them on their backs, or, you know, and I honor like where they are. And I always remind them, just know that what you did today is just as valuable as pushing a 20-pound weight in the air. Your body would have rejected that anyways. So
and potentially injured as well.
Exactly. So the time that we're spending doing this right now is far more valuable, and don't discount it. I'm going with where your body is, and just honor that. I think sometimes we're so fixated on the fact that if I'm not doing this, then this time isn't valuable. Bull. I feel like you have to honor where you are. And I remind myself that sometimes too. I'm a person that's like, I gotta clean up, I do laundry, gotta make sure the dinner's done, and then I'm not feeling well. And I end up curled up on my bed or something for a little nap, and I've slept over the time that, you've wanted to. And my husband will say, but you needed that. So don't feel bad about the fact that you didn't do X, Y, and Z, because X, Y, and Z, you're not going anywhere. So I try to remember to say that to my clients as well. It's like, whatever you didn't complete today, trust me, it's still going to be there. So whatever you did right now is what you need, and just go with it.
Oh,
yeah.
Go
be okay with that.
Yeah.
Rhonda, I love that.
Okay with that. Yeah.
I think we need to understand where we are. We need to be grateful for that. I'm grateful for you.
Grateful. So grateful for this opportunity. I think the importance of this podcast, and to highlight the value of each individual person in the community that you are in. Those people actually will make you stronger, will make you feel more resilient, will allow you the opportunities to be kind. You can advocate for them. You can be caring, all those things that I talked about earlier. And these little small opportunities that I have to speak and to share whatever I've had in the last 54 years of my life to share.
In the first 54 years of your life, you got a whole lot more.
You got another 50, another 54.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to passing that on, and passing on all of the gifts that have been given to me from the elders in my life. So thank you so much, ladies, for providing me this opportunity to share. I'm very grateful.
It's absolutely, as you said earlier, such a beautifully symbiotic experience, hearing your stories and following the beautiful dance that you create. And you just perfectly, I was just like, what? Somehow did you rehearse? Like, is that part of the thing that you do? Because You literally just pulled out of my brain this beautiful summary where you walked through all 5 of your words and you did it without looking at the list. I made a list, but you did it so perfectly. You said, you know what? I love this opportunity to be able to share my story and to be able to share where kindness shows up, where resilience shows up, where advocating and being an advocate for others and for yourself can show up, where determination shows up, and where joy and where fun and where being funny in a moment also show up. And you just did that on your own without even being prompted. So high fives for that. Thank you for that. That was amazing. What a joy it is to have you be able to take this time out of your busy day. We all have so much going on. And for you to jump on this call with us, we love it. Thank you so, so much, Rhonda.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you both. Thank you so much.
So for our listeners, you can learn more about Rhonda in our show notes and also on our website, halfbetty.com. We'll have some resources there that you can have a look at and to hopefully keep in touch with Rhonda too and reach out to her. Rhonda, where can our listeners find you?
You can email me at info@rhondaroberts.com, and you can go to my website, www.rhondaroberts.com, which will connect you to the Tab Fitness website. And then if you're wanting my Instagram, well, girls, I'm from a certain age where I can't quite remember that. But if you go to Instagram and you put in Rhonda Roberts, I think an _ Tab Fitness might show up.
We'll put it in the show notes to make sure.
Well. Anyway,
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Thank you.
We'll chat soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.